Hi there, this is Dee-Dee Devon from Divine Intervention Lifestyle and Nutrition Health Coaching. Today, I'm coming to you from beautiful Catalina Island to talk to you about anxiety. I wish I could show you my view. Unfortunately, the sun was too bright and it didn't work for my background. Anyways, if you listen closely, you can hear the ocean. It's right there. But I'm pretty sure people lose sleep here too who struggle with anxiety. And I wanted to share with you how to not only deal with it, but to acknowledge it as a friend and maybe even ask it to dance with you. Sounds a little far fetched? Well, hang in there with me, and I think you'll be pleased with what you learn here today. How I describe anxiety is like fixating on our worst nightmares coming true, and that we won't have the skills or courage or strength or hope to deal with the pain or loss or something like that. And we make up all kinds of imagined nightmares to accompany this train of thought. And I just started watching myself stacking up misery against myself and imagining all kinds of bad things happening. Oh, what if an earthquake comes? Where would I go? What if I get bit by that West Nile mosquito? Is my door locked? Is someone going to come in and kill me? I have this lingering pain. Is it cancer? How do people know if they have cancer anyways? How am I going to pay my taxes? What if I become a bag lady? What if my child gets sick and I can't help them? And God forbid I'm 59 years old and what if I get pregnant? What if I tell the truth and it kills somebody I love? What if I lose my mind like Aunt Betty? What is your imagined nightmare that hasn't actually happened that crushes you? And how do you regain trust in your okayness in the face of anxiety? And that's what this talk is going to be about. This is a topic that we are all in together. And this conversation is the one that I need as much. And as I sit with this, share the insights and wisdom I've gained. So this is an experience that we are all in together. So I've been looking at this again, trying to think, what is the experience of anxiety? And at its core, it's a loss of trust in yourself and the universe. It's pulling in external evidence that we're totally screwed instead of internal recognition of wow, we are just exactly where we are, even if we don't like it. Now, intellectually, I understand. The anxious thoughts aren't going to kill me. It's actually believing the anxious thoughts that consumes us. Those imaginary scenarios where some devastation or pain is going to come and get me, or worse yet, someone that I love. That's one of my imaginary fears. One of my imaginary nightmares is that it's not going to get me, it's going to get someone I love, and I'm not going to be able to have the courage to cope. And it's not real, right? It's only a narrative, but it certainly feels real in the nervous system when it's happening. So I got curious. How do I actually make that feel so scary? Take a breath. Let's pretend, let's say that you were on the payroll to feel anxious. Let's say you were on the payroll to feel anxious and you are very good at your job. And one day you couldn't make it to work. And so you called me in to substitute for you for a day. So here I am. Sure, I'll do that for a day. Excuse me. And given that you have such an excellent work ethic, you wanted to make sure that I would do an excellent job being anxious in your place. You didn't want to lower your standards. So how would you teach me to be anxious the way that you do it? And you might say something like, well, step one is to imagine something terrible is going to happen. Um, okay, got it. Something terrible is going to happen. Step two, put all that energy into your head. Okay, got that. Step three, breathe shallow and fast and irregularly, like ah, I got that. I'm starting to get a feel for that role. And step 4, anticipate with certainty your own pain or certainty of pain and suffering of someone you love or feel responsible for. Ah, okay, I've got that. And step 5, stack up even more misery against yourself. Ah, Nishi says, madness is a result of not uncertainty, but of certainty. And that made me think that anxiety is the experience of certainty in the direction of a nightmare. Does anyone else experience this kind of spiraling and stacking against yourself? What do you notice happens to your breath? Does it get shallow, quick? What happens to your breath? Now, intellectually, I notice and I try to tell myself that these thoughts are not real and to relax. It's not real, it's just a story. But inside, I'm being thrashed in the undertow of worry and self-doubt and ugly self-criticism, bordering on self-abuse, as I stack up all the things that are wrong with me, that I'm flawed, that I failed in some way, that I'm not good enough, and that I'm a fraud, and that I'm broken and this nightmare will never end. And then I try to find my center, slow my breath, do some kind of mindfulness practice, but it was all like battling a dragon with a flimsy noodle for a sword. It doesn't work very well. And then the universe came to me in a dream, and it occurred at a moment as a nightmare. And it was a moment much like this. I was sitting on the shore by the water, and all of a sudden, as I looked out into the water, this big, hairy monster emerges, almost like a grizzly bear. And it feels like it's coming towards me. And the feeling was I was afraid that it was going to attack me. And when I woke up, that feeling, that kinesthetic feeling in my body felt so palpable, it felt so real that just thinking about it, I couldn't shake the dream for days. So I called up my coach. Yes, I am a coach and I have a coach. I think we should all have a coach because as I imagine a world where it would be absurd not to have an advocate for our own well-being, including our minds and our hearts and our bodies, right? But that's another note. And so I call up my coach and she says, take a breath. Okay, so you're having the experience of anxiety. What if anxiety was not the enemy? But what if anxiety was a messenger sent by some part of you that was longing to be met? Because I told her about the dream and this bear. And when I think back looking at it through that lens, I realized that this bear wasn't coming to attack me. The bear was actually like a big furry mama bear. The mama bear that was coming towards me and wanting to be met, not attacked. Something is knocking at the door of your heart. What is it? What are you postponing? While it may appear to be knocking from the outside, get curious and look again. Maybe, just maybe, the waves of sensation and emotion and narratives are special invitations. And perhaps the kindest act of self-care and self-love is to finally slow down, stop trying to run, and see. Now, I realized that I needed to create some distance with anxiety because I was too overwhelmed to slow down enough to see. So I needed to create a little distance. Otherwise, I was too lost in the swirl, and this takes patience. I help my clients by teaching them to to step back to create distance from our greatest fears and anxieties. And this helps them get perspective when they're stuck in this undertow, in this swirl, in this rabbit hole. Now, I had this technique in my little bag of tricks, so I was able to dissociate, but it took patience. This is not instant, it takes patience. So, what I did in order to dissociate is to be able to create some distance with anxiety was something that I was kind of terrified to do at first because of the illusion of being in the anxiety is that if I stop feeling like the big bad beast is going to come and get me, the boogeyman is going to come and get me. But if you are bracing and be on the lookout so I can get it first, this weird dance with nothing, right? Like, I don't want to let go because I don't want it to get me. But it's nothing. It's like nothing that we're sparring with. So this is where the patience comes in. So what I decided was that I welcome my anxiety as a guest. And instead of trying to fight it, I said, okay, come in, sit down, stay as long as you need. And here's the important piece. I gave her a name. It could be a him for you. Mine was a her. I called her Miss Munchin. And I asked Miss Munchin, why was she disturbing me? Why was she disturbing me so much and filling my head with horrible thoughts, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep? And she said, I have to get your attention, silly. There's too many competing priorities. You keep running away from me, so I have to get louder and scarier until you can't refuse to pay attention. So I turned to Miss Munchin and I asked, what do you want from me? And Miss Munchin said, oh, darling, it's not what I want from you, it's what I want for you. Something in your life is not working for you, and it's time to evolve some aspect of how you are doing your life. So, if you experience anxiety, just take a moment to notice what might not be working for you in your life. And you might say, I don't know what's not working for me. You do know. So, it's slowing down enough. Stop turning your back and just be with it. Something in your life is likely not working for you, and it's time to evolve some aspect of how you're doing your life. And I protested. I said, Miss Munchin, I said, no, 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 it'll kill me. Or even worse, someone I love, and it will be my fault. I don't have the courage. I don't have the strength. Why are you expecting this of me? I can't do this. And Miss Munchin said, you do. You will discover you are more courageous than you give yourself credit for. And let me be clear. This change that's calling to happen is not only for you, it's for everyone around you. They signed up for this too. And you think that it will hurt them, and it might. At first, they might protest, they'll be disappointed, they might not like it, they might be angry, but in the long run, what is best for us is best for those we love too. And the reason I can say this is because we're heart-centered beings, and you know if you have a good, well-meaning heart. So trusting that in the long run, what is best for us is best for those that we love too. Now, I hope that the anxiety would just evaporate in that moment, and it didn't, not completely. But instead, this anxiety, instead of being this monster that could pounce at any moment, it became a teacher, a messenger, carrying the keys that I've now adopted as a personal practice and have begun using with others who are dancing with anxiety. So I want to share that process with you, that it might help you feel safer in your skin or give you something on the menu that feels better than being completely swallowed up by your thought patterns. So if you care to dance with me, the first part is to think of something that makes you feel anxious. So if you're willing to dance with me in the anxiety, let's do this together. Think of some worry that you have. Got it? Now, become aware of the thoughts that you think and the sensations that go along with that. Remember what I said earlier. If you were going to teach me how to get anxious, how you get anxious, there's probably a mental movie playing in your head, and there's some emotions that go along with that. Some feeling of grief, anger, terror, helplessness, hopelessness, something that goes along with that feeling and that pain. And then there's some kind of sensation in your body. So sit with that, and for me, it occurs as a choking, suffocating feeling, shortness of breath. It's almost like I can't even breathe. So that combination for me, if I was going to teach you how to be on the job for me, that's the sequence that I'd probably put together. So, okay, that's step one. Think about some terrible thing that you're worried about. Think of the thoughts that you think, feel the feelings that you're feeling, notice your breath. Step two is to witness and welcome the anxiety as a friend. I even have an empty chair next to me when I do this. Remember that you are not your anxiety. You are simply the one experiencing anxiety and the feelings. And the feelings are fuel for change. Your feelings are the fuel for change. You become the witness. And by giving your anxiety a name, like a cartoon, like Miss Munchin or Donna or maybe Bob or Gordon or Picklehead or Mickey Mouse, you can dissociate. So I'm curious what the name that you'd bestow on your cartoony character, that part of you that is on the payroll for experiencing anxiety. So give it a name and then welcome her by saying, hello, Miss Munchin, beautiful catalyst for change. I'm sorry that I was judging you as the enemy. I forgot that you were simply bringing to my attention the opportunity to change my relationship with my life. Thank you for being in my life, and thank you for not allowing me to turn away from this invitation to grow. Okay, great. The next step is to steady and slow your breath. By patiently, and I repeat again, if I had another child, I'd name her Patience. Patience, get over here, damn it. And I say patiently because I notice that I'm short of breath because I didn't even take the time to breathe all the way through. So steady and slow your breath by patiently inhaling and exhaling all the way. I love to think about smelling the roses and blowing out the candles, all 59 of them. And notice where your breath wants to stop. And breathe in and breathe out in a relaxed, patient manner. It might even help to have a flower near you. Remind yourself that these feelings won't last forever. Smell the flowers, blow out the candles. The breath pattern of patience and kindness. If you were breathing like a patient, kind person, how would you breathe? Let's practice again. Smell the flowers, blow out the candles. Now, what I've been practicing this week, ever since I had that bear dream, the big lovable mama bear dream, is taking little breathing breaks throughout the day. 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, no matter how busy things seem to be, your level of anxiety acts to remind you of how often your heart requires slower breaths for the benefit of your total well being. And when we're not taking these breath breaks for ourselves, what happens? Anxiety, fear, and doubt. So when doubt comes up throughout the day, breathe it out. When in doubt, breathe it out. And it helps you smile too. Just that little turning up releases feel good hormones. And this will steer your thoughts in a good direction. So there's a quote. I can't remember Bible verses if my life depended on me. I don't even remember who it's from, but there's a quote, and it goes, "Worry is a misuse of the imagination." And another, "Worry is like praying for things we don't want." And my favorite, "Worrying is like sitting on a rocking chair. It gives us something to do, but it gets you nowhere." On the other hand, deep breaths are inspirations. So, slower breaths throughout the day will give you fresh, positive ideas. And step 4 is to extend gratitude, curiosity, and willingness. So, we can say to Miss Munchin, "Thank you for this encounter. Thank you for inquiring me to get honest." And then dare to ask the question, what's the healthiest choice that I have been putting off? Now, this is again a very important question. What is the healthiest choice that I have been putting off or postponing? It's the postponing that gives us so much anxiety. That's one of the ways that anxiety is a messenger. It's here to tell us that we're postponing something for our well being. And if you steady your breath and come with a willingness, anxiety will tell you. And truthfully, you already know what you've been putting off, don't you? Yes, you do. Notice that anxiety dissipates when you give it space and a voice. And step 5 is to get in action. One baby step, 1% improvement. Make one small change that honors your needs. Whatever you've been postponing, take action towards what you would like. Whenever you do something toward what you don't like stuff it, your dream isn't getting any closer. Now, here's a little extra credit to stay steady. It's a discipline, or I like to call it a blisscipline. It's a practice. Make a list each day of at least 3 things you are doing right. I got up, I got dressed, I brushed my teeth, and I tied my shoes. What are 3 things that you've done today? Instead of focusing on what's wrong in the world or how unjust things are in your life or imagining things you had that haven't actually happened or getting mad about the things people have or haven't done, take the time to celebrate how peacefully and honorably and lovingly you choose to respond to what life is handling you right now. And you don't have to be perfect, you just have to try. So, what went right today? And if you're feeling anxiety or can't come up with anything, do the practice. Smell the flowers, big bunch of flowers. Blow out all those candles and give yourself permission to acknowledge yourself, no matter how small, for what you are doing right. And when we relate to anxiety as an enemy, it will consume us and paralyze us in fear. On the other hand, when we decide to get an intimate relationship with anxiety, it becomes a powerful catalyst, steering us toward our greatness, steering us toward our aliveness. And this is just a sliver of the journey I take my personal clients on during my 90-day total body transformation. And it's not just about food. It's not about food, but it's not just about the food and movement. It's about living a life with no regrets. And I can't even imagine a life without it. For those of you who personally know me, I don't even recognize myself from, let's say, 5 years ago. And I hope I don't recognize myself 5 years from today. It's given me the tools to become a better human, a better friend, a better mother, wife, and woman. When you endeavor into masterful coaching, you no longer fear your thoughts or your pain or other people's pain. And that is so incredibly powerful. If you would like to learn more about these kinds of skills, I'd love to invite you to sign up at the link attached to this video where we can have a virtual mocktail and marinate on all things you. Namaste, my dearest friend.